It's time to move on to a little bit more of a challenge. So some of you might have decided you want to draw the tiger. I have one at home just like this. What I recommend is we start by thinking about the general shape of the different forms that we're seeing. For example, we have a dark area here with light around it, and it kind of just goes in stripes. So how do we represent that in a drawing? I'm going to continue to sort of collage this into the gridded drawing that I've been doing. So let's see if maybe I can fill this area here. I want to make sure, of course, that I'm in the correct box. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3 over and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. So I'm going to go back over to my grid here, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 over and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. So I'm starting in this box, and that's going to be here. So if I look very carefully at this box, what I notice is that there's a little bit of white poking up here into the lower right-hand corner, and there are some spots here, and they kind of get flattened out as they recede in foreshortening. So I'm going to go back to my gridded square here, and I'm going to try to just copy that pattern. I'm seeing that it comes up about halfway, and I'm doing this very lightly because I'm not quite yet ready to add that fur texture. So again, this is all just kind of notes to myself about where stuff is. This is going to be dark here. There's a beginning of a stripe there and another one coming up in the corner. And now, it's only when I start hatching that I really need to start paying attention to what the texture is like. So I'm going to start where it's darkest, and that's simply because it's going to be the easiest. You know what? I forgot to do the little corner of the nose there. There's the white above it. Okay, so darkest, I'm seeing this big dark black area right here. I'm going to go ahead and add that in, pushing as hard as I can with my pencil, and I'm going in the direction of the fur. When you're drawing fur or hair, it starts to matter more what direction you're hatching in. You can't quite do it so arbitrarily. It matters. You have to think about what you're doing. I'm now adding these little spots here, and they don't have to be perfect, but again, I'm following the direction of the fur. If I sense that the fur is going this way, I'm going to hatch that way too. Now I can go a little bit lighter where I want these kind of grays to be. I'm noticing that it's still quite a lot darker than what's around it, and this is going to be quite a bit different from yours because around mine I have human faces. So yours are going to be based on what part of the tiger is next to it. And again, look, I'm hatching in the same direction as the fur is going, and I'm letting the value really just be dictated by how much pressure I'm using with the pencil. Now I want to lighten up in these lighter areas. And I can even let my pencil tip create a mark a little bit to give that effect of fur. I think it should be darker in here, so I'm going to push a little harder as I get into here. So that's one. Now I'm going to continue down into the whiskers here. And I'm just going to speed this up. I'm going to do the whole thing, and you can watch me do it in fast motion. All right, so now I've got the whiskers and kind of like a little bit of the snout here. I want to get into some of the longer fur because I anticipate that that's also going to be an area where you need help with. So I'm going to go over here to the bottom. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer for you. And I'm going to work in this box right here, which is just the second one from the bottom left as I go up. And this one is actually going to be quite a bit easier, even though it looks a little bit more furry. Again, what you can do is just kind of react to the shape of the values. So that's kind of coming across, and so I'm looking at this dark part. It's coming across and it's landing more or less there. So all of this is going to be super dark. And again, I'm hatching in the same direction as the fur. And I'm seeing another bit of really dark coming down here. Kind of starts to break up a little bit. It's not so much a stripe. And then in here, I just need to make sure that I'm going to the correct value. I can start with rough hatching because that's going to create the kind of lines in between the fur that give it that furry effect. And then, as I keep going, now I can really get into value. And I don't want to do it too evenly because otherwise I lose that effect of fur or hair. And this is not a one-to-one rendering of every single hair or piece of fur of the tiger. It's really just hatching to give the effect of fur. It makes it look furry without actually having to draw each individual hair. Let's continue upwards. So now we'll do this one. That's all super dark. And now I want to continue this stripe up into a wider area here. Just like that. Again, I'm hatching with the direction. You can see that there are highlights here and shadows even within that white stripe of the tiger fur. This whole part here is in shadow. And this part here is more in highlight, but it's still not the white of the page, right? That's white. That's not white, okay?
That's pretty much it. You're going to keep going with that as far as you can, and the tiger will be challenging, but if you take it square by square, again, you should be okay. And you had 2 weeks to complete this assignment. You have 70 squares, which gives you approximately
5 squares a day that you just have to do. So if each square takes you maybe 3 minutes, then you've got 15 minutes of work every day to do. I don't think it's that terrible. Just pace yourself and take it easy, and you'll be fine. Best of luck.